The glass towers of Bennett and Harlow Law stretched toward the sky, gleaming in the morning sunlight. Zara Monroe stepped through the revolving doors, her tailored navy suit crisp, her leather briefcase polished to a shine. At 32, she was the youngest senior associate at the firm, with a Harvard law degree and a case-win record that made partners nervous. "Morning, Ms. Monroe," called the security guard, his smile genuine. "Morning, Derek," Zara replied, her voice warm but already focused on the day ahead. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor was quiet. Too quiet. Zara noticed how the junior associates who'd eagerly chatted with her stopped when partner Davis entered. His eyes slid past her as if she were invisible. The same man who'd praised her courtroom strategy yesterday at the meeting, but only after Tom, her white colleague, had suggested the exact same approach minutes earlier. Zara took a deep breath. Another day of being brilliant. Another day of being twice as good. Another day of smiling through the slights. The partnership announcement came via email on a Friday afternoon. Zara sat at her desk, staring at her computer screen, her coffee growing cold beside her. The message was brutally direct: "Congratulations to our newest partners, Charles Whitfield, Rebecca Palmer, and Thomas Keller." Her hands trembled slightly as she closed the email. 3 new partners. None of them Zara Monroe, despite her billing more hours than anyone in her class, bringing in 2 major clients last quarter, and winning the Westmoreland case that the firm had given up for lost. "Congratulations, Tom," came a shout from down the hall, followed by applause. Tom Keller, who had graduated a year after her, who had lost the Hartman trial that she'd saved, who had never once stayed past 8 on a weeknight, Patricia, her assistant, appeared in the doorway. "Zara, I'm so sorry." "Don't be," Zara said, her voice steady despite the knot in her throat. "It just means I need to work harder." But as she gathered her things to leave early, something she never did, the truth settled on her shoulders like a weight. The firm's partnership was 92% white, and that wasn't changing today. In the elevator, her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Did you hear yet?" Zara replied with a single word, "No." That night, for the first time in years, Zara Monroe cried. Zara returned to work on Monday with renewed determination. No tears, no complaints, just the laser focus that had carried her through law school. She arrived at 6 a.m., hours before the office stirred to life. "You're early even for you," remarked the night janitor, Luis, as he emptied her trash. "Big case," Zara replied with a tight smile, but the truth was different. After a weekend of reflection, something didn't add up. She'd reviewed her performance evaluations, all stellar. Her billing was top tier. She'd brought in new business. On paper, she was the perfect candidate for partnership. When Patricia brought in her morning coffee, Zara asked casually, "Can you pull the last 5 years of partnership announcements for me? Research for the Branson case." By noon, patterns emerged from the spreadsheet she'd created. 23 new partners in 5 years. 20 white. 3 Asian. 0 black. 0 Hispanic. Coincidence, she murmured. That afternoon, while searching for a precedent in the digital archives, she accidentally accessed a restricted folder. Patricia's login had higher clearance than she realized. Inside were partnership committee minutes from the past decade. Zara's blood ran cold as she read. "Monroe shows promise but lacks gravitas with clients. Concern that Monroe may not represent the firm's traditional image. Clients in the Westmoreland sector might respond better to Keller's approach." Further down, more damning evidence appeared: evaluation scores altered, complaints from minority associates buried, internal diversity initiatives systematically undermined. The next file contained salary data. Zara's hands shook as she scrolled through the numbers. White male associates consistently received higher bonuses for comparable performance. The gap widened at senior levels. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tom: "Drinks tonight to celebrate?" Zara stared at her screen, the truth of Bennett and Harlow spreading before her like a cancer diagnosis. Not tonight, she typed back. Working late. And she was. Just not on what they thought. The partners' meeting room, nicknamed the Vault for its thick walls and soundproofing, fell silent as Zara placed her evidence folder on the mahogany table. 5 white men and 1 white woman stared back at her, expressions ranging from confusion to annoyance. "This is highly irregular, Ms. Monroe," said managing partner Richard Bennett, his silver hair catching the light. "We don't typically entertain drop-ins during executive sessions." "I apologize for the interruption," Zara said, her voice calm despite her racing heart. "But after reviewing certain documents, I believe we need to discuss the firm's partnership selection process." She opened the folder, sliding copies of the spreadsheets and committee notes across the table. "These are confidential documents," snapped Diana Harlow, her face flushing. "How did you access these?" "The same way I access case files, through our system," Zara replied, ignoring the implication. "What matters is what they show. Systematic discrimination in partnership selection, compensation, and case assignments." Bennett's pleasant mask slipped. "That's a serious accusation, Ms. Monroe." "With serious evidence to back it," Zara countered, pointing to specific notes. "My evaluations were altered. My client acquisition numbers were understated." Partner Wilson leaned forward. "You realize what you're doing? This could be career suicide. Or it could be the right thing to do," Zara replied. Bennett closed the folder with a snap. "We'll investigate these concerns. In the meantime, I'd suggest you consider your future carefully. Lawyers who make baseless accusations against their firms don't tend to find work easily elsewhere." "Are you threatening me?" Zara asked, her voice steady. "I'm advising you," Bennett replied with a cold smile. "As a friend." As the door closed behind her, Zara knew she'd just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Zara's office phone rang at exactly 9:17 p.m. The floor was empty, everyone gone to celebrate the new partners at the Capitol Grill. "Hello?" she answered, expecting opposing counsel on the Branson case. "Ms. Monroe, this is Elaine Davidson." Zara straightened. Elaine Davidson, the firm's HR director for 15 years, Bennett's trusted right hand. "I saw you enter the vault today," Elaine continued, her voice hushed. "We need to talk." "Not here. Not on any firm devices. Meet me at Riverside Park, the bench near the 79th Street boat basin. 30 minutes. The night air was cool as Zara spotted Elaine on the bench, looking smaller outside the office, clutching a thick manila envelope. "I've been waiting for someone like you," Elaine said without preamble. "Someone with the courage to speak up." She handed Zara the envelope. "I've documented everything for 7 years. Performance reviews altered. Settlement offers manipulated to make black and female attorneys look less effective. Email threads where partners discuss keeping certain attorneys away from important clients. Why didn't you come forward?" Zara asked. Elaine's laugh was bitter. "Single mother, 2 kids in college. But my youngest graduates next month." She looked directly at Zara. "And Bennett fired my predecessor for raising similar concerns. They buried her under NDAs and legal threats. Why help me?" "Because my grandmother marched at Selma," Elaine replied simply. "And I can't look in the mirror anymore." Zara's apartment transformed into command central by midnight. Laptops open, documents spread across her dining table, coffee brewing strong. "We need more than just evidence," Zara said, pacing. "We need protection." Elaine nodded. "I've contacted Sarah Jenkins at the Equal Employment Commission. She's expecting your call tomorrow." "Good, but the firm will bury this in litigation for years," Zara replied, thinking like the attorney she was. "We need leverage." They worked through the night, creating a 3-pronged strategy. First, secure sworn statements from former associates who'd left after similar treatment. Second, prepare a comprehensive legal filing with the evidence they'd gathered. Third, the controversial piece, contacting Daniela Rodriguez at the Legal Observer, known for her exposés on law firm culture. Once we go public, there's no turning back, Zara warned. Elaine's expression hardened. I erased turning back from my vocabulary tonight. Then let's build a case they can't ignore, Zara said, highlighting another document. And let's make it airtight. Dawn broke as Zara executed the first phase. She called 6 former associates before most people had their morning coffee. 4 agreed to provide statements. By 9 a.m., she drafted their affidavits, each detailing similar patterns of discrimination. Bennett's calling an emergency partners meeting, Elaine texted at 10:17. They know something's happening. Zara's phone buzzed again. Tom Keller. She sent it to voicemail. At noon, she met Sarah Jenkins from the EEOC at a cafe 3 blocks from any firm hangouts. As they reviewed the evidence, Sarah's expression grew increasingly grim. This is compelling, she said finally. But they'll fight tooth and nail. That's why we need Phase 3, Zara replied. While Zara headed to meet Daniela Rodriguez, Elaine executed her part of the plan, copying the remaining evidence before IT could lock her out. As she connected the flash drive, a security alert popped up on her screen. Ms. Davidson, came a voice from her doorway. Security Chief Marcus Wells. I need that drive. Across town, Zara sensed something was wrong when Elaine didn't confirm completion. She excused herself from Daniela and called from the restaurant bathroom. No answer. A text appeared on her screen from an unknown number. They've detained Elaine. Security has her phone. Don't come back to the office. Zara's mind raced. Without Elaine's final downloads, their case weakened considerably. Plan B, she whispered, dialing another number, Patricia, her assistant, who had access to everything Zara needed. Patricia, I need a favor. It's important, and it's right. 20 minutes later, as Zara returned to Daniela, her phone chimed with an incoming email. Subject line, everything you need. Attached were 62 files that would change everything. The Legal Observer's website crashed within minutes of publishing Daniela Rodriguez's explosive article, Exposed, Racial Discrimination at Elite Law Firm Bennett and Harlow. The story spread like wildfire across legal blogs, social media, and by afternoon, national news networks. Outside the firm's gleaming headquarters, news vans lined the street. Inside, chaos reigned. Partners shouted behind closed doors. Associates whispered in corners. Phones rang unanswered. Zara stood calmly in the lobby, surrounded by reporters, her voice steady as cameras flashed. Today, I filed a class action lawsuit representing 17 current and former attorneys of color at Bennett and Harlow, she announced, Patricia and 4 other associates standing resolutely beside her. The evidence shows a clear pattern of discrimination in promotions, compensation, and opportunity. On the massive lobby screens, ironically displaying the firm's diversity statement, the news ticker showed the firm's stock plummeting. The elevator doors opened. Richard Bennett emerged, flanked by the executive committee. His face turned ashen when he saw Zara at the center of the media storm. Ms. Monroe, he said, attempting to regain composure. This publicity stunt is beneath you. Zara stepped forward, her voice carrying across the now silent lobby. No, Mr. Bennett. What's beneath me is accepting injustice when I have the power to fight it. She held up a flash drive. And I have all the power I need right here. The settlement came 3 months later, after Bennett and Harlow's largest clients threatened to pull their business. The terms were unprecedented, $42 million in damages to affected attorneys, a complete restructuring of the partnership committee, and mandatory oversight by an independent diversity council for 5 years. Richard Bennett announced his early retirement at a subdued press conference. 3 other partners resigned. The firm's name changed to Harlow and Associates, with Diana Harlow publicly committing to transformative change after a tearful apology. For the 17 plaintiffs, vindication came in different forms. Back pay. Promotions long denied. For some, the freedom to finally practice law without the weight of institutional bias. Elaine received a separate settlement for wrongful termination, enough to pay off her children's student loans. Was it worth it? Patricia asked Zara as they watched the news coverage of the settlement announcement. Ask me in 10 years, Zara replied, when the next generation of black lawyers doesn't have to be exceptional just to be treated equally. The sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows of Zara's new office. Not in a corporate tower, but in a converted warehouse in Brooklyn. The sign outside read, Monroe Justice Initiative, established with a portion of her settlement funds. Your 10 o'clock is here, said Marcus, her office manager, formerly Bennett and Harlow's security chief who had quit in protest after being ordered to detain Elaine. Zara welcomed a young black law student, eyes bright with determination. I applied to your mentorship program, the student said. Your case changed how I view the profession. Across the city, changes rippled through the legal landscape. 6 major firms had implemented transparency in their partnership processes. The Bar Association had created new anti-discrimination guidelines. 3 other discrimination lawsuits had been filed, citing the Monroe precedent. Zara's phone buzzed with a text from Elaine. Worth it yet? Zara smiled as she glanced at her waiting room, filled with clients who finally felt they had a fighting chance. Absolutely, she typed back.